Santos's Varanus Island operation, reducing by 150 terajoules. That's almost a 20% reduction in the gas supply coming into that pipeline. There is, I think, a significant risk of that leading to power blackouts. Now, Santos say they're sourcing additional gas. I hope they're successful. Can I say, Jeff, this highlights a real problem for the McGowan Labor government, and that is they've brought forward the closure of the coal-fired power stations. They say 2030, the way things are going, it's going to be before that. But we're going to have a state that's utterly dependent on gas for its firming capacity in the network, and they're going to reduce that to one supply, which is gas. Just imagine if you had a more serious disruption of the main pipeline. We're heading into a situation where Western Australia is at high risk of experiencing major blackouts across the south of the state.
The government, the minister's trying to calm the horses, saying that there's no real implications or serious implications from the loss of that gas. At the same time, in his same statement, saying that they're trying to understand what it does mean for Western Australia. You can't have both, can you?
No, exactly. Look, the minister constantly goes out and tries and reassure, but look what he's doing. You know, as I say, he's brought forward the closure of those coal-fired power stations. They can't even get coal for them at the moment. And to say that a 20% reduction of supply is not a problem is just ridiculous. Clearly that's an issue. Let's hope that the government's successful. I mean, we're heading into the hottest part of the year. You'd all remember the blackouts we endured last year, particularly in some of the regional communities. Let's hope we don't see it again. There's no doubt whatsoever with the coal supply restrictions, we're more dependent on gas than ever before, and this restriction is a real risk to our electricity supplies.
With your background, you know the industry well. How easy is it for someone like Santos to whistle up that amount of gas and get it into the WA reticulation system?
I don't think it's trivial at all. Many of you would have seen that Woodside have delivered their first supply of gas to Europe, liquefied gas to Europe. There is enormous global competition for gas at this stage. I mean, fortunately, the government does have long-term contracts with some suppliers, but this is going to make it hard, I believe. I don't think this is trivial at all. For the minister to dismiss it out of hand, I think really illustrates his lack of care or understanding of how important this is.
So from before the announcement, 12 hours ago or whatever it was, to now, how much is the risk increase?
I think significantly. The majority of industry players that I speak to and people who are intimate in their knowledge of the electricity system have said that we were facing a summer of increased risk of blackouts. This increases the risk further. I mean, what percentage, I don't know. It certainly doesn't help, and it increases the risk that if we have any disruptions in one of the coal-fired stations or they run out of coal, that we're going to have real issues over the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's assuming they can fix the problem in the timeline that they've stated.
Santos has had a number of safety issues across the last 18 months. Should the government be looking elsewhere, or is it even?
Well, they're a major supplier. I mean, they have about half the capacity to supply into that network, so they're a major supplier into the domestic network. I'm sure the Department of Mines will be looking into this, and they should investigate it thoroughly. I mean, fugitive leaks of methane, apart from anything else, is a greenhouse gas, and obviously there were possible safety risks, so I hope it's investigated thoroughly and we don't see this sort of disruption in the future.
Should industry be worried? Do you think the industry would be worried by the loss of this amount of gas?
Look, I think industry would be concerned. What I've heard is that the government have asked AEMO to go and identify alternative sources of gas. One of the ways they're doing that is talking to industry about potentially taking gas away from industry to supply the electricity network if there's a crisis. And in fact, that's what we've seen happen historically in the past. So typically, the domestic electricity supply is protected, and that means industry has to take cuts. I hope that's not the case. I know from first-hand experience, I was in industry, in fact a senior manager in a refinery during the Varanus Island issue. That was chaotic, caused absolute chaos, had to burn thousands or tens of thousands of litres of diesel and caused havoc in our particular refinery.